Okay. Probably turn off the One Direction that's playing on my MacBook right now. And has been playing on my MacBook for the last 3 hours. Anyway. Hi, hello. Welcome to my channel. Brand new video. Let's go. First video, let's do this. God, I'm trying to find a good way to set all of these up here without like causing... I've tried to film this video like 3 times. And every single time I've gone to do it, I've either been like interrupted or it's just not done well or the audio is off or not working. And it was really frustrating me. So I was like, you know what? We're just gonna... My necklaces are all... So, anyway, besides that, I'm Zoe. I am a junior in high school and I'm 17 years old. And you will come to find out that I have a ridiculous obsession with books and reading and writing. I'm currently writing a book. So that's really exciting. I'm hoping to have it done by the end of this year. Hoping. That is a big hope. It's a goal. Don't know if we're gonna accomplish it. So we're hoping. It's a goal. We're gonna start there. I have more up there that I just forgot about. So basically, this is gonna be a what books are in my collection and bookshelf tour, kind of. The lighting over there on that part of my room is just awful. It's horrible over there, so I kind of don't want to... You can see my bookshelf right here, but there's also one right here with my sister's, some of my sister's books, and then like whatever. But that bookshelf has terrible... There's no lighting. There's no good lighting over there, and this low light in my room is yellow. So anyway, so we're just gonna get started. Jump literally right into it. I'm gonna start with like the more contemporary romances. As I'm looking at these, own way more contemporary romances than any other genre. I don't have a problem, I swear. I'm gonna tell you the title, obviously the author, kind of what I know about it, but it depends on if I read it or not. So, because I have some of them I haven't read because, you know, I'm a typical reader and we have that chronic problem of buying more books than we read. Jumping right into it, the first book that I have, starting left to right, 1,000 Boy Kisses. I have heard such amazing things about this book, and have I taken the time to read it yet? No! It's next on my TBR after, well, we'll get into that in a second, but so excited to read this book. I've had so many people recommend it to me. Every single one of the book YouTubers that I watch loves this book, says it's amazing and emotional, and they do say that it's more YA, which, okay, but, you know. 1,000 Boy Kisses, again, I haven't read it yet, so I'm not 100% what it's about. I just know that there's, like, a boy and a girl, and the boy moves in next door to the girl when they're really young, and it's kind of like this, like, romance through their, like, you know, they're kids, though. Romance until he then moves away, and then they're, like, they, like, promise to keep in contact, but then they, like, she stops writing to him, and he's really confused, and then he moves back, and then he finds out about something that happened. I don't know. I'm really excited to read this one. Next, I probably have a better setup than what I have going on. Oh my goodness. The Unhoneymooners, and my goal this year is to read 100 books in a year, and this was the second book that I finished of the year. I loved this book. Ethan is just, love that man. Love this book. It's so good. I'm sure that if you're on Book Talk, you've heard of this because this is really popular, but Olive's sister and Ethan's brother are getting married, and she is the maid of honor, and Ethan is the best man. And everyone at the wedding gets super sick from a toxin that was in the buffet, except for Ethan and Olive, because Olive couldn't eat the buffet and Ethan's just picky. So Olive's sister and Ethan's brother were like, please take our honeymoon because it's non-refundable. They have to fake be married, though. They have to fake be married while they're there, though, because if they don't, then the resort's gonna get, like, really suspicious and be like, why are they not acting like they're married on their honeymoon? So they have to pretend to be married, and they have to go through all of these, like, antics of being fake married. They see a few people on this fake honeymoon that should not be there, and that kind of throw a few wrenches into the story. Olive ends up finding out something that is thoroughly important to the plot line, but so good, so I loved this book. It was just great. And I'll do another one on my ratings of books, but this one, so good. People We Meet on Vacation, and I read this was the first book that I finished in 2022. I think I started reading it like on New Year's Eve or something like that, and then I finished it on the 2nd, I think. I don't know. It took me a few minutes. It's not even that big. I think it's like 400 pages, 350 pages. So it's not big, but it was so good. This one, see, I struggle. I go back and forth between if I like the Unhoneymooners better or this one better, because I am a sucker for the friends to lovers plotline, because I just think I find it more realistic, and so it's easier for me to relate it or be like, oh my gosh, that could totally happen, because it's friends to lovers, and you kind of have to, you have to have a friendship before you're lovers. Anyway, it's basically the two main characters are Alex and Poppy, and they meet on their very first day at college. They don't really have anything in common, but they're kind of like, they have like this conversation and they're like, good luck with life and see you later. Probably never gonna see each other again. And then at the very end of their freshman year of college, then one of Poppy's friends reaches out to her and is like, hey, this guy I know wants to know if somebody wants to carpool back to where he lives, because he lives really close to her. And she's like, oh yeah, that would be great. Turns out that it's actually Alex, and she's like, oh well, nice to see you again. And they have this like really long car ride, and they get to know each other, and they ended up going on vacations with each other and becoming like best friends for like the next few years, because she's a travel blogger. Then they kind of have a falling out, and it was a whole mess, typical, and ends up reaching out to him and is like, can we go on one last vacation? She works for like a big travel company. He's like, yeah, sure, one last vacation. And the last 3 days of their vacation revolve around his brother's wedding. So, and his family loves her, so they're like, he's like, yeah, I'll take you to the wedding and we can just, we'll try. We'll go on more vacation. Things not going right, and everything feels like everything's going wrong, and Poppy's getting so frustrated about it, and Alex is like, it's okay, like, it's fine, we'll fix it. Then they go to her brother's wedding. His family's like talking about her. She kind of pushes him away, and they don't see each other for a little while after their vacation. They end up finding each other again. It's really good. It's really, really good. Highly recommend. Beach read! And I haven't read this one yet. I'm very excited because I loved People We Meet on Vacation. And they're both by Emily Henry, which I forgot to say that. A Thousand Boy Kisses is by Tilly Cole. The Unhoneymooners is by Christina Lauren. And then this one and People We Meet on Vacation are both by Emily Henry. I'm such a great book vlogger, guys. The girl, her dad passes away, I think, and she has to go clean out his beach house, and then she sees this guy that she went to college with who also lives in a beach house like right next to her, and they ended up like seeing each other again, and they're like, oh hey, this is kind of weird. And they're both authors, and she writes romance and he writes like thriller, science fiction, something like that. And so they're like, they're both in a slump, and so like they're like, let's teach each other how to write in the other person's genre. I don't know, to try and get us out of the slump, I think is what it is. And so like she takes him on a bunch of stuff that would be in like romance books, and he takes her on a bunch of stuff that's like science fiction, action, thriller, I guess. And then they end up, I guess, not hating each other, not being like academic rivals, I guess. I know I haven't read this one yet, but I'm excited to read that one too. All the Right Places, which I've seen this movie, but I wanted to read the book to see if it was any different. And it does say like Netflix adaptation. This is by Jennifer Niven, maybe? If you've seen the movie, you know what it's about. But I wanted the book for the book adaptation version. November 9. This is probably my favorite book that I have ever read. Not simply because it's Colleen Hoover, because I know that that's a big thing. Ben is my favorite book boyfriend of all time. I am obsessed with him. He is perfect. It might also help that he's an author. That kind of gives him bonus points, but it's so good. One day, Fallon and her dad are out to lunch, and she's aspiring to be an actress, and she went through an accident a while ago that kind of hindered her from doing that, and her dad's like, you're never gonna be able to do it, and he's like harping on her like so hard, and Ben overhears this and he comes up to her and he's like, he pretends to be her boyfriend, like shut her dad up pretty much. And her dad's like an actor, but he got like it was either a really small role in a major film or a like big role in a really small, like not well known film. So the crap, but he's not. And so Ben kind of shuts him up, which was like one of my favorite moments in the entire book. They meet and they have like this instant connection, and the next day Fallon is moving to New York to pursue her being an actress, and Ben is like, live on opposite ends of the country because he obviously wasn't going to go with her, and we'll meet up once a year on November 9th, not have any contact with each other throughout the year, and see what happens to see if we still want this like jumping into something crazy. So they do, and so you see it from both perspectives every November 9, and you see what each other go through, and it's just the plot twist in this book. Let me tell you, I did not see it coming. I was sobbing reading this. This book has a very special place in my heart. By Colleen Hoover I have 3 total. I have November 9, and then the next one is Ugly Love, which is currently being lent out to a friend, and I'm sure you've heard about that one too. Miles and Tate is moving in with her brother because she gets a nursing job close to where he lives, so she's like, okay, well, I'll just live with you until I kind of get my feet set in the area and figure things out. Tate ends up meeting Miles, who is very closed off and very like, doesn't like relationships. He kind of doesn't really like anything. He's just kind of like to everybody. They then go on to have this friends with benefits relationship, and he tells her very specifically, he says, don't ask about the past and don't expect the future. Those are his 2 rules, his only 2 rules. And she's like, okay, I can do that. She cannot do that, and she starts to fall for him, and she's like, why are you the way you are? It's not enemies to lovers, it's brother's best friend too, so that's cool. But like, you know why he is the way he is, or you find out, but Tate doesn't know, and so you're like, why won't you just tell her? Why won't you just love her? He wants to love her, but he just can't bring himself to do it because of what happened in his past. So good. Absolutely heart-wrenching. Beautiful story. Like, it is, oh, it's so good. It's so good. Please read it. Just do it. Just read it. Even if it is like a book talk book and it's very hyped up, it is worth the hype. It is so good. The next one we have by Colleen Hoover is the infamous It Ends With Us. As you can see, I have some feelings. I'm gonna wait and we'll do a book review on this and have a whole chit chat about this book. But basically, Lily is moving to, I always forget where she came from. She moves to Boston. She meets this guy. They meet in this like really cool, crazy way. His name's Ryle, and he's a neurosurgeon, and they up in each other's lives, and then they start like dating, and everything seems to be going perfect until something happens that Lily just cannot get over. She finds her like diaries from when she was in high school, and you see her dynamic with her first love, Atlas, and she kind of keeps going back to these diaries to see like what her life was back then when she was going through some of the things she was going through in her house, how some of those things are mirroring things that are going on in her life now, and how like she always told herself that she wasn't going to get into that situation, and now she's like working through something that's similar, and it's a lot more than a romance novel, let's just say that. And there are a lot of things in this book that are very difficult topics. There are some scenes that are very hard to read. So beautiful though, and very empowering, and very like, oh, there's just not words to describe it. It's so worth the hype. I think everybody should at least read this book once in their life. A masterpiece. So many emotions, so heartbreaking, and it's healing, and it's disaster, and it's beautiful. It's just so good. Everyone should read this book. Next I'm gonna get into my Nicholas Sparks books, because I only have 3, surprisingly. I have obviously The Notebook, because everyone knows what this is about. I'm not getting into this. My next 2, I have read The Notebook, obviously. These next 2 though that I have not read. We have The Wish and See Me. See Me is about a guy, and he's like an alcoholic, and leaves this town, and then he comes back, and everyone's like, what the heck is going on with you? Why are you the way that you are? 80% sure it's a second chance romance. I'm pretty sure. But like the girl has like kind of a tragic past, and I'm kind of confused because the synopsis is like all over the place. But the girl kind of forms a relationship with him that isn't like totally romantic. It's more of like, I want to know why you are the way that you are and why everyone is treating you the way that they're treating you. So I guess I'm not really sure. It's kind of confusing, but I'm excited to read this because this one's kind of, it's up there. The Wish, and I just got this one for Christmas, so I'm excited about this. This one is basically about this girl, and she's a travel photographer, and she was supposed to go somewhere for Christmas, but she ended up getting sick, and so she couldn't, and she meets this guy named Bryce, get close, like, during the Christmas season, I guess, and then, like, tells him a story she, like, tells him about her, like, past relationships, and I don't know, this one, I'm a little bit lost on it, too. Because I haven't heard anybody talk about this one or see me, because it's not like, they're not book talk books. But I'm excited to get into both of them. So, that's exciting. This is actually 2 books. That's why it's literally 1,000 pages. But this is The Moon and More and Just Listen by Sarah Dessen? Sarah Dessen? I'm not really sure. I found this at Meyer, and I read the back, and I was like, this sounds like really cool. So I'm just going to read the back. Picture perfect looks, a great boyfriend, a close-knit family. At first glance, you are the girls who have it all. But is this charm life all that it appears to be? Maybe an unexpected romance makes you question everything that you've ever known. Or for a long time, it becomes difficult to balance where you are coming from with where you are going. Or perhaps you are hiding a secret that can shatter illusions and force you to listen and tell the truth, no matter what the consequences. Why can I not read out loud? So, I don't know, I saw it at Meyer, and I was like, this actually looks really interesting, and it sounds like a book that Steph, if any of you guys watch her, she was talking about, I was watching one of her videos, and she was talking about a book the other day that actually sounded really similar to this, and I was like, that's interesting. So I think that's interesting that I found this, but I'm really excited to actually read both of these. I think I've said that about every single one of these books. So then we have The First Phone Call from Heaven from Mitch Albom, and this one doesn't have a cover, or it doesn't have like the cover that comes on hardback books, so I literally have no idea what this is about. But The First Phone Call from Heaven by Mitch Albom? I'm not sure, but I'm curious about that one. Then we have No Dark Valley, and this is like a Christian romance. Basically the main character's name is Celia, and I haven't read this one either, but her grandma dies and she has to move back to the town that she came from because she has to do something there with her grandma's like house, and she meets this guy, and he is struggling with addiction and she's struggling with the loss of her grandma, so they like kind of help each other out with their problems, I guess. Again, not 100% sure, but it sounds interesting. We have, I got these both from school. They were like giving them away. We have The Book Thief and then I Am the Messenger, and they are both by Marcus Czak. I have not read The Book Thief since I was in like 4th grade. I Am the Messenger is basically about this guy, and he's not like poor, but he's like a cab driver, so he doesn't make very much. He's going about his day one day, and then he stops a bank robbery. I have not read this one either. There's a lot of these that I haven't read. I have that chronic problem. I'm working on it, guys, I swear. Some like high-end person, like, who's like hiding behind a screen, or like hiding behind these messages, tells him that he needs to start sending messages between these 2 people, or they're gonna frame him for I think is what it is. I'm not 100% sure, but this one definitely seems interesting. I don't know, my foot's asleep. I'm sitting on my foot. I got this one for Christmas too. This one is Fear Has a Name, by Creston Mapes. And basically the preacher, I believe, of this town, or the preacher's wife, the preacher of this town dies. Like, he gets killed. And then there's like a stalker who's stalking the preacher's wife and kids. And so this investigator journalist, his name's Jack Crittenden, is trying to uncover who the person is and what their motives are. I don't know. So it's like a mystery of like who killed this guy and who's stalking these people and why are they doing it. Typical mystery, I guess. I don't know. It definitely seems interesting. My grandma got me this one for Christmas too. So I got a few books for Christmas that I just like never heard of or like were like not super popular, which I was excited about. Six of Crows. Also a very book talk book. Basically about this one teenager who's given this task to pull off this heist. He can't do it by himself, and so he asks these like 5 other teenagers, teenage-ish kids. It's like dystopian fantasy. I'm not sure if it's fantasy or dystopian or both. There's a Netflix show about this one too. I don't know. I'm not typically a fantasy reader either, which is interesting, but everyone was like, this is so good, you have to read it. So it's like, okay, expand my collection a little bit. And then we have Touching Spirit Bear. And this one, my other grandma got me this one for Christmas. And this one is about this kid, and his name is Cole. And he's kind of like a really bad kid apparently, and like does all this really terrible stuff at school and is like a bully and like torments teachers and stuff like that. And juvie, but then like he goes through this whole thing with the court, and they're like, you have the option to either go to juvie or we'll send you to this like camp for bad kids on an island, I think, or it's Alaska, or no. Cole's offered Circle Justice, a system based on Native American traditions that attempts you to provide healing for the criminal offender, the victim, and the community. With prison as his only alternative, Cole plays along. He says he wants to repent, but in his heart, Cole blames his alcoholic mom, his abusive dad, Wimpy Peter, and everyone but himself for his situation. And he has like 1 year banishment to this Alaskan island. I don't know, my grandma said that all of her students love it. I'm assuming it's definitely more youth audience, but I don't know, it looks interesting. It sounds interesting. Sounds a lot like Hatchet, like similar to, like got a similar vibe to Hatchet. And then lastly I have I Hope You Stay. This is my little poetry book for when I feel depressed, quite honestly. It's from the same author that writes Pillow Thoughts, so you kind of get the vibe. I love this book though. I think I've read through it like 400 times. But that is every book that I own, every book that I'm borrowing, and obviously I'm very excited to grow this collection. My TBR, my book journal, my TBR, not this, my TBR goes through most of these, and it's also by category, so like some of them, like this one has like literally 5 books because I don't read that genre very much. I'll do a tour of this as well. At some point. But thank you so much for watching. I'm so glad that you were able to come and check out my collection. Please comment your book recommendations and any of your opinions on these books, especially ones that I haven't read. Let me know if they're worth a read or not. I mean, I guess I'm gonna have to because I already own them, but even still, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye!